Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Before I begin, I want to sincerely thank all of you for the wonderful response to my first video. Continuing this journey, today I want to share my reflections on man's search for meaning. When I first started reading this book, I'll be honest, it disturbed me. If you allow yourself to truly visualize the details, the consequences of war, the concentration camp conditions, the crowded barracks, the hunger, humiliation, it can make you feel emotionally very low. And the writing is so vivid that you don't just read about the camps, you almost see them. You feel the suffocation of cramped spaces, the absence of food, the loss of basic human dignity. It feels overwhelming. But then I consciously changed the lens through which I was reading, and suddenly the book felt completely different. When you imagine those harsh conditions, no space, no freedom of movement, no clean air, no water, and living almost every second close to death, you suddenly become aware of your own life in a completely new way. You feel grateful for the space around you, for clean water, for food and fresh air, and most importantly, the freedom to move. What begins as a disturbing read slowly transforms into a powerful lesson in perspective. Not surface appreciation, but a deep grounding one. Viktor Frankl writes that those who had a why to live could bear almost anyhow. That line stayed with me, because what you see in this book is perhaps one of the most powerful examples of human resilience. Not resilience in one form, but in many forms. You see physical resilience, people surviving extreme hunger, exhaustion, and brutal living conditions. You also see mental resilience, the ability to remain aware, thoughtful, and observant even in unimaginable circumstances. And perhaps most remarkable of all, emotional resilience, holding on to hope, purpose, and meaning when everything around you is collapsing. Even in such conditions, some people still chose hope. They held on to purpose, a loved one, unfinished work, or just faith in the future. All of this makes you stop and ask yourself, what meaning am I giving to my struggles? What am I complaining about? Am I using my freedom wisely? Now I will say this with honesty. This is not at all an easy book to read. The first half can feel emotionally very heavy because of the stark historical reality. But for those willing to sit with discomfort, it can truly be life-changing. The perspective it gives you is incredibly powerful. This book begins in darkness, but it does not leave you there. It shows the worst of humanity, but more importantly, it reveals the quiet strength that exists within human beings. Once you read this book with the right lens, you cannot look at suffering or your own life the same way again. And that, for me, is the true impact of man's search for meaning. If you have read this book, I would love to know what was the one idea or moment that stayed with you the most. And if you haven't read it yet, do you think a book like this can change the way we look at our own struggles? Thank you for being here, and do share your thoughts in the comments.